Hi,
Hello, and
Panda.
out there in podcast world. Hope you're having a wonderful day. You're listening to or watching live the Service Business Mastery Podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Tersh Blissett, sitting virtually next to my co-host, Joshua Crouch. Today, we're going to talk about lots of fun stuff. We have
Like
Ian.
weed, LSD, and caffeine, right, Tersh?
Yeah, fun fact. So we have Ian, the HR guy, on the show today, and if you're in any of the Facebook groups, you know Ian. I don't even think his name's Ian on Facebook anymore. I think it's the HR guy because it's all he deals with is HR, and there's a lot of interesting information that I have questions about when it comes to HR, and um, I text Ian all the time, and I'm like, so here's a weird scenario. What do I do in this situation? And he's always got some great answers. But we were just talking about mud water. I'm talking about replacing my caffeine coffees in the morning with this drink called mud water. And mud water is not a sponsor of the show or partner or anything. But if you do want to sponsor a show, just reach out to me, Tersh at servicebusinessmaster.com. But fun fact, in 1995, on what we assume it was a slow day, NASA researchers gave a test group of spiders either LSD, weed, or caffeine, then stood back and watched the intoxicated spiders weave webs. The researchers found that the more deformed the web, the more toxic the chemical was for the spider. Caffeine, as it turns out, made the jittery spider spin the most disorganized webs. So what I interpret, because that's the first part of this little paragraph here, if you're watching live, and I didn't read the rest of it. So I'm just going to interpret that to say that we can smoke weed and do LSD on the job site because it makes us less jittery than coffee.
And we're not going to get fired, right, Ian?
That's right. So Ian can't say anything right now, so I can just say whatever I want to. But no, it's just great because we're going to talk about pay structures. First off, we want to blanket this, and I know Ian will say this as well. This is not going to be every single state. There's certain things that you really will need to check with Ian on one-on-one if you're state specific, especially if you're in California, because they're really different. So, and we'll leave it at that. And but yeah, we're going to talk about pay structures, different kind of off the wall idea pay structures versus their traditional pay structures and that kind of stuff, and just general HR stuff. But yeah,
so if you guys are listening live, bring your HR questions. We'll throw them up on the screen and get Ian to answer those, because these questions get asked in group all the time. When do I have to start paying my technicians? When does their day end? And the list, there's literally, HR is like one of those things. You say HR, and a lot of people start rolling their eyes and are like, "Oh God," because there's so many different avenues you can go with HR. So, but ask your questions if you watch this live. Otherwise, reach out to us after the show, and we'll get you in touch with Ian.
Before we get started, though, I want to give a huge shout out to our actual sponsors and partners of the show. Mudwater, it is out there still. If you want to be a partner, just let us know. Upfrog Digital Marketing, it does a great job. Justin and Noah, Justin Riley, Noah Carter, they are some really smart guys. It's so funny because the first time I introduced them as a partner of the show, I said Justin was old. Justin's not old. He's just older than Noah. So that's why I said
he's older than you and I too. So technically, if we're in a room together, he is old.
Yeah. So those guys at Upfrog, man, they do some wild stuff. And it's really crazy because I'll see stuff from their team and it's like, oh yeah, I can recognize that that's theirs. But it's not over the top. Like, this is Upfrog. It's just once you know it, then you know it. I don't know. It's hard for me to explain, but they do a lot on social media, getting those leads in. And whenever you talk to Justin, and man, we sat down for hours and had dinners in Vegas, and that guy, I'm taking notes as fast as I can, and he's just blowing me away with big numbers from big tech companies and stuff like that. But they do digital marketing and do an amazing job with lead generation and stuff like that. But I know they do a lot more than that. But
yeah. Well, and we get a lot more coming. And the reason we partner with people don't just throw money at the podcast and say, I want to be a sponsor. Like it's a pretty
If you
big
would
vetting
like
process.
to throw money, you can send
Well,
it to
Tersh has got
Tersh
his
at
own
Service
personal
Business.
account for that. He's probably got a Venmo too.
Yeah, I do. Let me give him a Venmo.
But we like partnering with people who are really innovative and changing the game and stuff like that, because we don't want to just partner with someone just to say we partner with someone. So we're very selective. And Sarah was one of the first that we actually went to them because of what they were doing, and we were very interested, intrigued. Plus, we love Billy over there, and he honestly, I've met probably 6 or 7 members of his team, and we've given, as a digital marketing company who builds websites and stuff, we gave some feedback on their online booking widget, and within 2 weeks, they had fixed a problem that we found, came up with a solution. This wanted to get me on a call to walk me through everything, and I think that just goes to the level of customer service that Sarah has. They actually will hear your feedback, and if it's something they can do, they will do it quickly. So don't be afraid to give them feedback on the product, because their product is only it's only been launched for about a year now.
Mm-hmm.
So they're still taking feedback. Billy filled us in. There's some really big things coming. Can't say much on it. Just stay tuned to the show.
To do this part of the introduction.
Subscribe to the show, so that way when those updates come out, you can listen to those.
I will tell you that you are the 5 people that you surround yourself with, and we've been very, very fortunate to surround ourselves with smart people. See, like I am the dumb guy in the room, and I like sit in the corner, and it's like, all right, so we got Billy and we got Justin and Noah and Josh and Ian, and I'm like, yeah, I got my 5 people surround, so I'm set. And the last one I want to add to that is Company Cam. And honestly, Company Cam, that's a relatively new relationship that we've had with Company Cam. But everybody that we've interacted with has been super supportive of the show. And I've talked to different, and Company Cam is a very large company. I don't know, Josh, they don't come across as a huge company, but I learned recently that they're a very big company, and
I think they're in more industries than we think. Because when I think Company Cam, I think, oh, they're just here for the trades and the software and the trades, but they're not. They got a lot of fingerprints in a lot of different industries that we don't even realize, and it's all because they made taking pictures out in the field and bringing it back to an internal office or an internal team very, very, very easy.
That's the biggest thing. If it's not easy, my guys aren't doing it. I guarantee it. Like if it adds 4 or 5 steps to the process, you can hang it up. I mean, anybody that has technicians in the field, we all know it's like, I can barely get them to fill the forms out. If I have to have them do a whole bunch of other stuff to make something happen, you can hang that nonsense up. But one of the things I would love to say about Company Cam is every time I've talked to a customer service rep over there, I've mentioned the podcast and how they've supported the podcast, and they've all subscribed, or so they've told me. So, I mean, they could be lying, but they said they were subscribing to the show. So if you're listening to this and you haven't subscribed to the show, subscribe and leave us a 5-star review on all the podcast catchers. So just
if you hate the show, just don't leave a review,
or just leave a 5-star and say, I hate these guys. With that being said, let's get started with today's show.
Are you looking for valuable business advice to reach that 7-figure revenue mark? Do you want actionable tips to properly navigate through every business challenge you encounter along the way? Let Tersh Blissett and Josh Crouch be your guide in getting you to the top here at Service Business Mastery. Tune in as they sit down with world-renowned authors in business, leadership, and personal growth who share valuable insights about management, marketing, pricing, human resources, and so much more. Let their nuggets of wisdom gold guide you in owning a thriving, profitable, and ever-growing business. Here are your hosts, Tersh and Josh.
Welcome, Ian.
Thanks for having me. Tersh, you're fired for tripping.
Yeah, I am.
Tersh puts all kinds of weird shit into his body, so...
I mean, it happens.
Awesome. Well, so most people know you as the HR guy. If you're on any of the groups online, you've done a very nice job changing your name and it's a great marketing ploy. I can appreciate that from a marketing perspective, so that way people remember it. It's very easy to remember what you do, but I don't know if people quite know your story and where, where this came about. How did you become to where we are today? We're the HR guy.
So I started, 13 plus years ago by getting fired from Geek Squad. I was working as a technician, working on appliances and electronics and all of that, and I had a disagreement with a higher paid, less effective.
That's funny.
That is funny. The a higher paid technician that I was always fixing his mistakes, and I got a little vocal about it in a CSR around the corner.
How dare you?
Yeah, she took offense, was scared, something, and the next day I was fired. And it's just, that's the corporate HR environment. And I'm like, I don't want to be on that side of the table ever again. So opportunity to work with another company started. I moved my family to California. At that time, we only had one child. Now we have 5. And
yes,
we
got a little soccer team.
I'm surrounded by my 5 people, all the time.
There you go.
No wonder I'm, such a kid at heart.
That's awesome.
But yeah, so over 10 years worked with this company to build up an HR and safety program specifically for the trades. And then due to an HR situation amongst management, my wife and I had to leave. She's known as HR guy's boss. And we started our own firm, and I just took on to Facebook because my other company
when did Big Picture Consulting start?
Just over 3 years ago, just the summer before COVID.
Okay.
Oh yeah, perfect timing.
What made you? Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say I started responding and getting into the groups because I had networks with the trades. And I started responding HR guy equals or safety guy equals, and then giving my text.
Mm-hmm.
But then I noticed, after about a year or so, people were starting to half copy, half mock it a little bit. So I'm like, all right, suckers, step it up. And I just changed my name.
That's funny. So you said that your wife and you work together in the business?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Could you share a little bit about that? Having spouse, because Josh and Brittany work together, Julie and I work together.
Mm-hmm.
Could you share a little bit about that?
Yeah, I mean, she's more classically trained HR, and she was working while I was at Best Buy in Geek Squad. She was working with police and fire departments all over the country, developing and administering promotional exams, advancement exams. And so she was neck deep into unions and HR regulations and safety requirements and all the fun stuff. But then when I lost my job, this opportunity opened up. She left that, went with me, obviously. And we've been working side by side ever since.
Wow.
That's exciting.
That's awesome.
Now, y'all are still in California?
No, we're actually based out of just outside Minneapolis, Minnesota.
Okay.
Oh, okay. So you went the opposite as Josh.
So you traded the nice weather to go to the Minnesota's cold as hell, man.
Luckily I know lots of good HVAC people.
Right.
Yeah, that's true.
I trade services with my guy Nick over at Thielen.
That's funny.
There you go.
Shout out to Nick.
Yeah.
So HR, like what's the most common, because you're very active in all the social media platforms and in the Facebook groups and everything, which is appreciated more than you probably realize, because there's so many times where we are Ty, man, we're going to see Ty at the Women in HVACR event. And I can't wait to see and hang out with him. But Ty mentioned that Ian's awesome, and he is. Shucks. It's so often that you are asked questions, or somebody will ask a generalized question, and people are saying, like, they're giving their take on it. And then you're like, yeah, that'll work, but what you really need to do, like, this is legally what you need to do. And then it's like, sometimes you can feel the tension in the air where it's like, well, that's not how we've always done it. Well, you just haven't gotten caught. And I love that's like, would you rather hear comforting lies or harsh truth? You know, that's something that Mike A always told me. And it's like, I'd rather hear the truth, you know? And, what's one of the most common misconceptions that you've maybe seen, that the assumptions that people have about the trades in general, whether it's anything HR related? Like, let's just go with anything HR.
Well, most of the time, the battle that I face in growing my business and bringing on clients and helping them is the fact that just the concept, you mentioned it earlier, the concept of HR is misunderstood or not fully applied. You know, you have documents, which we all know contractors just love paperwork. They love thinking about regulations and filling out forms and getting their employees to fill out forms and all that fun stuff.
I get mailed something that I'm supposed to put on a wall somewhere.
Yeah. And half the time what you're getting mailed isn't actually made for a small business. So
I could tell, because it don't sound nothing like anything we do.
but that's what makes me different, is that I come from a technical background. I have the technical mindset, just like the vast majority of contracting business owners and their employees. So I understand what's going through their head better than any traditional HR person. So having the documents in place, that's actually the easy part.
Really? Because that's a pain to me.
Well, that's why you got to hire me.
Shameless plug.
Hey, you give me an opening like that.
This is fits.
But the documents are the easy part if you know what you're doing.
Okay.
You know, 2 weeks time, you can have an employee handbook in your hand that's custom to your operation, your state, your industry.
So it's not okay to Google an employee handbook and just copy and paste it.
No. And for a couple of real simple reasons, you know, that do completely blow by people. One, where did that template come from? Who actually wrote it? For what
Google.
industry?
Who knows?
Google Translate.
Yes.
But what state, what industry, how long ago was that template published? You know, all these things.
It needs to be updated.
Yep.
How long should it be? How long should an employee handbook be? Because I think ours is like 30 or 40 pages. Maybe it's 100. I don't know. It feels like a lot.
Our books tend to go from 40 to 60 pages, depending on what state you're in. You can take a guess who's on the end of the 60.
California.
Yep. But then, you know, you should be having it reviewed for any issues at least annually. And then as your business policies change, the employee handbook needs to be a living document within your company.
So don't set and forget it.
No,
it's
don't
not
use it
something
as
you just put it on the shelf back there next to the
collect some dust.
Yeah. I actually recommend creating an employee resource center that makes that the star attraction. It's the visual representation of management's transparency. How's that for
Ian is on a nerd level of another sort over here.
So I got a question for you, Ian, because a lot of small businesses are 0 to 5 million in revenue, right? Because obviously you get to a certain point and then you can start bringing people in to take care of some stuff for you. Where does your business fit in? Are you helping set up that stuff? Is it ongoing where you're kind of growing with the business? How does that work when they bring you in?
Yes. I do it all. I work with owner operators that are looking to hire their first employees, and they know, because they've more than likely been seeing me on the Facebook groups, they know that they should start with a solid foundation and grow from there. So I help them out with every aspect of getting all.
So that would be like helping them create handbooks, figuring out what
Yep.
their policies are, and doing
what
that.
what the onboarding new hire packet, and all the way through the employee life cycle through discipline and termination.
Okay.
So
Ooh,
just
yeah, that's a good point.
setting
The
those
termination.
those documents in place.
The
Well,
termination and after the fact, like it could really hurt you if you're not paying attention,
Mhm.
documenting it properly.
Yep. And so that's the owner operator, but then I go all the way up, until recently I was working with NextGen before they, sold the wrench, and helping them and their in-house HR
Massive.
team.
Yeah.
Massive company, massive, speed of execution. And what I serve there is a different role than I do for the smaller companies. It's really based on what you need, out of
Is
it.
that more where you're in the consulting role where they have questions and you're kind of available to help them?
We're an
sort
extra
through,
set of eyes. Yeah. Extra set of eyes, extra pair of hands, researching, second opinion. We're not emotionally connected or emotionally biased to any of your employee management situations. So my number one job day to day is fielding calls. My employee just did this ridiculous thing. How should I respond? And it's normally like,
You'd get a phone call every day from me.
everybody says that, and it normally happens for a few weeks or even a couple months, and then okay, I think we've got this now. We're comfortable with telling them, no, that's not acceptable, or
Just fire
get out.
everybody.
Yeah, and understanding unemployment and how unemployment works is always a big challenge.
So tell me this real quick. You mentioned unemployment
Mhm.
in a right to work state, and I use air quotes there.
It's at will, number one.
Thank
Right
you.
to work. Right to
Yeah.
work deals with union involvement. At will deals
I knew
with
that.
all employment.
Yes, I did know that. And thank you for correcting me. See, that's what I'm saying. Like in the Facebook group, Ian's like, actually, it's at will, not right to work. So in at will state, how much more lenient is it when it comes to workman's comp? I mean, not workman's comp.
Unemployment.
Unemployment. Yes.
So for at will, which is actually 49 out of 50 states, and the last one is not California. Amazing.
Get out of here.
It's Montana. But
Really?
49 out of 50 states are at will, which means that unless you mess it up by having some form of employment contract or something that can be interpreted like that, you have the right to fire for any or no reason as long as it is not discriminatory.
Okay.
And that's where it goes back into the fuzzy world.
Right.
So you can't fire somebody for getting injured on the job,
Right.
but you can fire them for getting injured because they blatantly disregarded established company safety policies and training.
Like your core value of safety above all.
Yeah, you actually have to back that up.
That's just that's our
you're
net.
talking about-
It's a net, like everything safety.
When you say back that up, you're talking about having regular safety briefings, having a safety manual, and all of these different things, right?
Yes.
Do they have to sign something stating that they've been to a safety briefing?
Only if you want to be able to defend yourself against OSHA.
So yes.
But more so on like the workman or the unemployment side, like when it
Yeah,
goes
if you're going to dispute unemployment, and it's also a matter of if they're being fired at will or for cause. If you catch an employee or have proof that an employee stole property from a customer while they were in the home, that is a for cause termination, illegal activity. You want to fire them specifically for that reason. You don't want to just say, get out of here, because then it becomes fuzzy again.
Yeah,
you
kick
need
rocks.
to follow the process, give them the documentation, and explain you want to give them a reason. Otherwise, they'll fill in their own reason, and it's never going to look good for the company.
So tell me this, in the state of Georgia, where I happen to be, it's very gray. Everything is, when it comes to releasing employees to new opportunities, is a very gray area. I'll get a letter sometimes I won't get a letter from the state of Georgia, and then I'm supposed to send the letter back to them, and then like it's not there's nothing anywhere that's like, this person worked for you, you fired them, fill out this form. Like, it's not like, unless I'm just really overlooking something, because I did research at one time, and then they were like, no, we'll mail you something. Like, seriously? Yep. Like, how do you know whenever they get hired from another company?
If they apply for unemployment, number one.
Oh, yeah.
They may or may not get approved just on the surface. But if they're going immediately to another job, and everybody's hiring. Yeah. So they're not even, most companies aren't even bothering trying to do references. Mm-hmm. So they may not even apply for unemployment, in which case you're not going to hear anything. If they apply and there's a question, like they're going to be approved for it, if nothing else is said, then you're going to receive a letter. You fill it out if you're going to contest it. Otherwise, you ignore it. And that's really what you do. And
then your unemployment insurance shoots through the roof.
It's normally not that bad. It really depends. It's a whole arcane formula based on how many people you have.
It sounds like tax. It sounds like the IRS.
It is. Hey, Al.
Oh man, Al Levy. We appreciate you hanging out with us, Al. Okay, so let's move into pay structures, because
ever so popular.
It is massively.
I have a feeling
popular.
You get a lot of questions on this.
Well, I get enough that I developed my own compensation plan. So there you go.
Which is really cool. I've seen it firsthand. I mean, it's been like a year, but I've seen it, and it seems to solve a lot of issues. But I'd like to hear your take on the other payment plans that you see.
So in general, you have three main options for compensation plans, and there's a million variances, but it all boils down to three general concepts: straight hourly, straight commission or piece rate, incentive pay, or a combination of the both.
Okay.
So with hourly, the common complaint is, well, the guys just milk the clock because there's no incentive, which is what led to performance pay in the first place. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. The challenge with performance pay is, one, the laws and regulations are not designed for non-exempt employees like technicians to be exempt from overtime. So if you are paying pure performance pay or pure commission to technicians, you still have to figure out how to account for overtime. Additionally, on the weakness side, it encourages going too fast on the job, taking shortcuts, and overselling the customer.
Yeah.
Yes. None of which help represent your brand.
Nope.
So then there's the combination of the two: a base hourly plus additional incentives. This covers you on the minimum wage. Mm-hmm. And gets the stability for the employees, but you still have that overtime component.
So are you seeing that people are paying straight minimum wage plus a commission bonus, like a percentage?
It's actually rare that they're going all the way down to minimum wage. It's normally some sort of base rate that they're willing to do for shop time, training time, meetings, things like that. If they're at minimum wage on that type of system, I recommend that they up it. Because
to like 10 or 15 an hour, or
50, it really, depending on your area. I mean, $15, $20.
Yeah, because some minimum wage states are 15 or 15.50 or something like that. No.
Good point.
But the other thing here from the HR and team culture is, how valuable is that training or meeting going to be to the employee if they know they're getting shafted on their pay for every minute they're sitting in that chair?
Oh yeah, they're not interested. They're probably pissed off, and they're ready to get out
looking at the door before you even start.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, you want to make it incentive enough where they're okay with training. They still feel okay, like, because training them helps you as much as it does help them as well. So you want to make it where it's equally beneficial, and a wage that's not going to be like, fuck you, like, why am I here? I want to go out and make some money.
Yeah. And if they're on if a company's using straight commission or piece rate, I recommend making a piece rate amount for those trainings. So like a training segment, maybe half an hour, and you're giving $15 per segment that is assigned.
Okay, yeah, it's kind of similar to what we did in the past. Now, what do you think about a $10 an hour minimum, but it's called a draw? Like it's like you pay them however many hours they are getting, like however many hours they work, including overtime and everything, but all of that comes out of their commissioned amount.
So that's really still a commission structure. You're just kind of cutting underneath you're paying hourly or commission, whichever one's higher.
Okay,
and for a draw, it's acting kind of like a loan that they need to repay later off of future commissions.
And that is legal, or?
It's legal. It can be done. It's just overly burdensome on the administrative side, in my opinion.
I was going to say, it sounds complex from just trying to track that and understand those numbers and stuff like that.
Now, how is that different from a car salesperson? Because that's typically how they get paid, correct?
Well, a car salesperson, yeah, they're going to get paid a base and a draw, but they have much higher commission opportunities, and they're in sales.
Okay.
They're exempt from overtime and stuff like that. So they don't even.
So a technician. So, okay. So what about your comfort specialist versus your technician? And would you not classify your technicians as comfort specialists if you wanted to get around that?
It's more about what job they're doing. So if you take that technician that you're calling a comfort advisor, what is their work comp code?
Heck if I know.
Salesman or technician? They're going to be
whatever is the cheapest on workman's comp.
Yeah. And then what is it after your audit?
Ian, I'm buying you a ticket to go to Tersh's shop tomorrow.
I'm gonna be in Georgia in October, so I'm gonna need you to come by first.
Add a week, and hang out with Tersh and Julie.
Yeah, come on, I got a spare bedroom.
Oh man.
So yeah. Welcome to my life. This is what I deal with all day.
I know you deal with it constantly because you have an answer for me every time I ask a question.
So what are some of we're on pay structures and talking about a bunch of different types. What are some of the biggest mistakes you see companies make with any of the pay structures?
So on hourly, the biggest challenge is knowing when you are legally allowed to start and stop the time clock. So on that, the time clock starts when the employee gets to their first job assigned location of the day. So if they're dispatching from home, it's when they go to their first customer. They get there, they're ready to work.
So if they come to let's say they have, because I know there's still shops, and we were one of them where guys would come in and get their trucks in the morning. When they get to the shop, then that would be their start time.
Yes.
If they weren't dispatched from home, correct?
Okay. Now, what if they are dispatched from home, but their first call is an hour away when it's normally 30 minutes? Like, is there like a set?
You pay the difference.
Okay.
Yep.
And who sets that service area time frame? Because some places it's a 15-minute drive time average, and then some places it's common to have an hour drive.
And that's what would be looked at to determine that policy.
So you would have to go to the labor department and do a full audit, and then they would say, this is your average.
If it came, not until it actually got complained about. If somebody contests your policy, then the Department of Labor gets involved. In the meantime, you've got me to help. So if by the book, the best way to determine it, how far is it from their house to the shop? That's their commute window.
What if they live they're remote? Like I know of a guy in Jersey that has like his shop's in northern Jersey, and then he has like one technician that's 2 hours south and another technician that's another 45 minutes south, and they don't actually ever come to the shop very often.
Exactly. So it would be normally a 30 or 45 minute, depending on local traffic patterns.
I'm having fun with this, Ian, just in case you can't tell.
Stump the HR guy.
That's what I'm trying.
That's what he's trying to do.
I know. Everybody does. I'm an insufferable know-it-all. I know that.
Hey, that's why we have you here. That's why you're here.
Okay, so starting the clock at the first job assigned location. Then the clock stops, obviously, for lunch, if they're bothering to take a lunch, and that's a whole different segment about mandatory lunch breaks.
Yeah, I seen your post the other day about that.
I'm saving companies in California tens of thousands of dollars on self-imposed penalties because they're taking too much responsibility on themselves for lunch breaks when it's ultimately the technician who's refusing to take their available lunch.
Yeah, so explain how that works. Is it only in California that's an issue?
Mostly.
I've seen you talk about it a lot, but I don't really.
It's primarily an issue in California because they have this, unlike any other state, they have this imposed hour lunch penalty if the employer fails to give them a lunch break. So they not only have to pay for the time that they work through lunch, they have to pay an extra hour worth of pay.
Dang, that's good for a technician.
Right. And if you're doing it automatically just because they failed to punch out, you're actually incentivizing them not to take their required lunches.
Yeah, absolutely. And then
when did we get to a point? Go ahead, Tersh.
Well, especially if they actually are taking a lunch, they just didn't clock out.
And that's also harder to determine unless you've got very good GPS, geofencing to customer addresses, and you know when they stopped. If you're able to spot check the time sheet.
Having to go back after, because this complaint is going to happen 6 months after the actual incident. So then you're backtracking all that nonsense. That's
why it's important to have the proper process and system in place now, so you can rely on it and you can defend the system. And if it's a one-off situation, it'll cost you very little.
So that's not the case in the state of Georgia, correct?
Georgia does not have any requirement to give breaks in any way, shape, or form.
What about South Carolina?
I don't know off the top of my head.
I
know the closer you get to New England, the more common it becomes.
Okay, well, good to know. We won't go north. We'll go west.
It shocks me that we have states where we have to tell adults that they have to punch out for lunch, and like it's crazy the amount of.
I got to tell my guys every single day, clock out, or else I'm going to get dinged in my Titan review score or whatever.
But if they don't, that's on them.
Well, that's
how, like I said, I was a technician.
It should be.
I was a technician. I hated stopping for lunch.
Most technicians, every single technician I have ever worked with wants to get home earlier, not later. So if they're working till 5 or 6, they'd rather not have to take a 30-minute or 60-minute lunch to get home at 7. They'd rather just. Well, they just grab something and they'll move on to their job, or they'll bring a pail lunch and they'll just eat while they're there. Like I've worked with some of these guys on like some geothermal jobs. If they just bring a pail lunch and we just keep working.
And that's where it's challenging because technically they took a lunch break.
They ate a lunch during a break.
That's a good way.
Okay,
a rest break and a meal break. I mean, if they
air quotes.
If they stop for more than 20 minutes, you can force them off the clock. But you have to know they stopped for more than 20 minutes.
Oh, yeah. I'm not paying attention to that. Like that's stepping over dollars to pick up a dime.
Exactly. And that's where you can say, you know what? We want you to take a lunch because it's good for your health. It's good for your mental state.
Yeah, you need a break.
Quality of your work. You need to take your breaks. We want you to take your breaks. But ultimately, you're an adult. You're the only one who can stop working and choose to take those breaks. Right. They're available.
Do you know if there's any studies out there, any research that shows that the more breaks you take, the more productive you are?
On average, and of course they don't, these types of studies have been done, but they're done on different type of psyches than technicians.
Yeah, we're kind of weird group.
We like to finish what we're doing.
It's the instant gratification.
That's how we get satisfied. That's
Yeah.
relaxing to us, is reaching the end of that job successfully and saying, I did this. I accomplished something.
That is where our dopamine is released at that
Mhm.
point. And yeah.
But in
so
an
it is
office
different.
environment, there is no end. There is no, it's just, okay, it's just the next task. So there's not as much connection there. And that's the environment that it harms a lot more quickly. Now, that also isn't to say that every technician is driven like that. And some
That's
of
a
them
good
do
point.
legitimately wear out in the middle of the day and they need to refuel.
That is a good point. But see, like as a service technician, back whenever I first became a service technician, I was proud to say I ran 12, 15 calls a day. That was
It's a badge of honor.
Yeah, pat me on the back because I caught all these service calls. So then I had 12 to 15 20-minute breaks to go
In between.
Yeah, in between each call to kind of decompress a little bit. That's not the case anymore. We're running 3 service calls a day, 4 service calls a day.
Spending
all
hours.
that time, in the attics or under houses or in in situations that are more stressful than and so I totally see where the need is for that. But I know what my guys do because I've watched their GPS. I force them to, hey, if you're not going to clock out for lunch, give me, tell me what you did for lunch. What kind of break did you take mentally so that you can decompress? Because I don't want you taking the last call with you to the next call.
Yep.
Like, you know what I mean? And so like they will hit up a gas station like, hey, I'm getting gas, I'm gonna get fuel and use the restroom, and that's my lunch break. And I'm like, I feel like you need to take a little bit more than that.
Yeah. And like I said earlier, anything less than 20 minutes would be on the clock as a break. Now, everything being said, you don't have to require lunch breaks, but you can require it. You can make it company policy. You will stop working or you're going to be held accountable.
So like my wife, before she came on full time with us, she was full time at a hospital, and if you didn't clock out for lunch, they took 30 minutes out of your paycheck. So like, and then they would get in trouble for it because then the patients wouldn't get taken care of. So then they literally would go clock out, making rounds, and then clock back in so that they didn't get reprimanded for it.
If she was part of a union, that may be able to fly, but in general, you have to ensure that your employees are stopping work.
I thought that it would be the opposite. If she was part of a union, she wouldn't, like, that wouldn't happen.
It depends on what's in the agreement.
Huh. Okay.
And
it's
healthcare is a whole different animal.
Yeah, she's definitely not part of a union.
Okay.
But I mean, it was just because they were more concerned about patient care. Like the nurses were concerned about their patients.
Right.
Administration was concerned about clocking in and clocking out and making sure you took your 30-minute lunch break, or else they were going to take it from you anyways, and you were going to get like points on your record or whatever.
They can apply points towards discipline, but if they take that time without verifying that they did actually stop and take that lunch, that's wage theft.
I'm 99% sure that is what they did. And it's a very large, nationally owned hospital.
And it's something that happens across the trades as well. Because they hit, okay, I have to, you have to stop and take lunch. I'm required to make you take a lunch. So I'm going to take 30 minutes.
Huh.
So you might as well stop. And it's like, that's not how it works.
So typically, obviously, if they're still working there, they're going to gripe about it, but probably I don't feel like it goes to the labor board type situation until after they've quit or been fired or something.
It takes one, whether it's a disgruntled ex-employee, a disgruntled current employee, a festering situation, a manager that didn't treat somebody the right way, so they've held on to this bullet and they decide to make a stink about it to get back at that manager. It could be a cascading effect from a random alphabet soup agency coming by to do a programmed audit, and one thing leads to another.
What do you mean?
So OSHA specifically has programmed random inspections. They will visit, just your name got pulled out of a hat somewhere.
Mm.
If they find
Your
out
name means your competitor complained about you.
Well, that would be a complaint inspection. No, if it's a pre-programmed, they will announce it as such because it gives you different rights. And again, that's a whole different segment.
Okay.
But during their audit, if they find that you have a culture of not having lunches or not, employees are not taking lunches because of interviews, then they could pass that on to wage and hour saying, hey, this is a red flag during this audit. And now you're getting business.
And how far back do they go for stuff like that?
So, well, in this example, OSHA would be looking at your current culture and then throwing the red flag. Wage and hour can hit you for penalties and stuff like that, going back anywhere between 2 and 5 years, depending on if they how serious.
That's a lot of lunches.
Yep.
Yeah.
Wow.
Now, what happens if they impose so much of a penalty that you can't afford to pay it?
Close up shop. And then
Really?
you may still be, they could choose to pursue civil action or give your employees the tools to pursue civil action against the owners personally.
Well, what's the purpose in having an LLC at that point?
Well, if you close up shop, but the government sees all that.
Okay, so
we just keep on going down rabbit holes here.
And
it's what we do.
It is what we do. Man, what was I going to say? I was about to say something, and then another thought came to mind.
Well, do we want to go back to where we were originally talking?
Yeah, let's go back there because I know I'll think about my question for sure.
Okay. Hourly clock starts when you get at your first job assigned location. Deal with lunch however you're going to deal with lunch. You clock out when you leave the last job assigned location.
Oh, not when you get home.
Correct. Now you
That
have
is not what I've always heard.
One commute a day. So one trip to, one trip back. If it's a split shift, you're going to pay portal to portal for that second shift. Or if it's an on-call situation.
Say that one more time so I make sure I understand what you're saying.
So commute, think about an office environment.
Yep.
Person, CSR comes to the shop or to the office, unpaid, works, goes home.
Right.
Commute time is not on the company.
That's what I've always felt that way. I've been like, I'm paying your fuel.
Yep.
I'm giving you what was 40, now it's like $150,000 van, fully stocked, and you can drive it home and to work. But you're now demanding that we pay for those trips.
And the reasoning behind that is I'm driving your vehicle, which is free marketing for you. I'm having to transport that fully loaded truck. But the courts already ruled on this. Transporting tools is not considered being under the employer's control just because it's not compensated work.
Okay. How about this? What if they're on call?
If they're on call, as long as you're not overly restricted, if you're not overly restricting their activities, so reasonable response time, I recommend giving them at least an hour to dispatch. But if it's during a normal workday, when they already worked and then later they're going out on call, they've already used their commute.
Oh, okay.
So
they got to pay
portal to portal.
Now, do you have to pay them while they're on call?
Not unless you're saying you have to be there, you have to respond, you have to pick up the phone, process, and get out the door in 5 minutes.
we'll just say
have
like
to
a
stay in
reasonable
uniform.
time, like an hour or
Yeah.
2 hours.
If it's a reasonable time that they could reasonably run personal errands, do things, you don't have to pay for the on-call time itself.
Okay.
So, but you could, as part of an incentive program to have them on call, you could pay them a stipend, a spiff, just to be available.
Yeah,
as part of just a bonus
program.
program or something like that.
Yep, I recommend making an official thank you for making yourself available.
Okay.
And it needs to be a thank you so you can exempt it from overtime. If you
Whoa,
give them,
hang on. I think my rabbit went way over there. Repeat exactly what you just said.
if you make it a thank you, it is exempt from overtime. So thank you for making yourself available.
What does that mean?
You're giving them money to make themselves available for the on-call period. Not
So what does it mean to be exempt?
work.
Well, what does it mean to be exempt from overtime?
So that pay type would be called a discretionary pay because it's not something you have to do. Right. So you give them a thank you bonus. You're going to be on call this weekend. I'm going to give you $100. Thanks for being available. Then whatever they do, they clock in and out for their jobs. They're going to get paid overtime on that and any spiffs or performance or whatever your pay structure is. But that $100 thank you bonus does not have to go into the overtime equation.
Okay, so let's say like a what if, like say I have a buddy who does this because it's not me, it's somebody else that does this. Okay, so let's say we charge $95 for our normal consultation fee or diagnostic fee. And after hours or emergency calls, we charge $195, but we give the $100 additional to the technician. Like that's just like their, I guess, thank you bonus. It's
Nope.
I almost said something wrong.
That's a spiff for running those calls. Each call, they're getting paid that $100.
You sure we couldn't just, or my friend couldn't just say it's a thank you bonus?
Nope, because it's directly tied to work that they did. I don't blow smoke. I'm sorry,
Ian. When are you going to
ask me a question? Don't ask me a question you don't want an answer for.
I find that a lot of time in these Facebook groups, people sometimes are probably wishing they didn't ask certain questions.
I get a lot of longtime listener, first time caller contacts when the stuff hits the fan.
Yeah, well, do you find that a lot of people reach out to you? It's usually like, oh shit, I got this situation and I need this. I need help with this. They need to hire you. And it's like, oh man, I really wish I would have done this before. I would have had all this stuff set up. I would have never had this headache or these issues.
I picked up a client a couple months ago that thanks, Doug. Glad you like the info. I picked up a client a couple months ago. Actually, I guess it's like 6 months ago now, that I had spoken to them the previous May about payroll compliance and paying overtime on spiffs and stuff like that. They chose to pass at that time. Come December, they got a wage and hour audit. They were only a 3-man shop. So I'm on site at another client and processing all this information for them on the fly because they have like 48 hours to get.
Who invited Ian to come on this show today?
It wasn't me.
Oh man, no, for real. So explain what it means to someone whenever you have to your spiff overtime compensation.
So if you're paying spiffs, commissions, task pay, whatever for jobs done on the clock, regardless if you're paying hourly, that is their wages for the pay period. Overtime is not tied to an hourly rate. It is tied to their average that they earned over the pay period.
Oh, really?
So
you have to change their pay rate and then figure overtime on top of that?
So, you have to figure out the overtime. So, for example, very simple example, $1,000 earned on commission over a week that they worked 45 hours. Their average hourly rate comes out to $22.22. The overtime is half of that, the overtime premium. So $11.11. They worked 5 overtime hours. You owe them $55.55.
Now, that's what's
On
their
top of the
base
1,000.
pay?
This
Okay,
is just
yeah.
a straight payroll example.
Okay, so you're not saying that we have to take that $1,000 and add it back to the 40 hours. Like if they're
No.
if they're they're $20 an hour times 40 hours, and then we don't have to add that 1,000 back to it and then divide that by 40 to figure out overtime rate, correct?
No, if you're paying
Okay.
something above that hourly rate,
Okay, good.
have
I
to-
was just making it
you
really
have to
complicated.
average that in. So a different example, $20 an hour, 45 hours, and $100 in SPIFFs, because you're paying the difference between the hourly and that commission.
Mm-hmm.
Now you have regular hours at 20, overtime hours at 30, but you still owe the overtime premium for those 5 hours on that $100, which
So
is
what?
$5.55.
Okay.
Are you serious right now?
And not paying that $5.55, you get that calculated back 2 to 5 years and $1,800 per employee per violation type.
No employees are getting spiffed ever again.
You can pay spiffs. You just have to budget for this. That's all. You just have
Holy
to.
cow!
And I think this is where a lot of those questions come in, because this gets gets really in depth, and people don't realize that the level of, I guess, the depth level of all of this stuff that you need to consider when you put together these pay plans. And they just think, well, I can just do hourly in a spiff program. And it's like, hey, it's simple, but it's not.
So what if they're performance pay or commission pay? Does that the spiffs go into that same thing, or is it more work?
It's actually easier to deal with it when you're paying straight commission or performance. Because here, everybody get ready to write this down. This is the overtime equation. Total money earned divided by total hours worked divided by 2 gets you your overtime premium rate. What you do with that rate depends on your compensation plan.
Say that one more time. Money worked.
Total money earned
Money earned.
divided by total hours worked
Hours worked.
divided by 2.
Money earned times hours worked
divided by.
Man, y'all need to watch this live.
All right, I'm gonna pencil you in for first week of October, Tersh.
Yeah, I will be not here.
Julie, where are you? Hey, honey, I booked you for the first week of October.
Okay, so how does that make it easier then, if that's the case?
It's easiest to deal with that because when you're dealing with a straight commission or performance pay, you're paying commissions for one line item, and then you have a second line item for overtime premium, which is just the overtime hours times that rate of pay.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's okay. I can see.
If you're doing hourly plus, you take that overtime premium and add it to the base rate to come up with the adjusted overtime rate.
So what if it's like that draw scenario that we were talking about earlier?
Well, if we're dealing with the draw, it's going to end up being that overtime premium, or it's going to be that straight hourly rate.
Sounds like a lot of variables there.
Yes, which is why I have 2 services. One is a payroll overhaul to build calculators and tools and rewrite pay agreements so that it's clear so everybody knows what to expect from their pay, and give the company the tools to actually run their payroll compliantly. And then the second one, yes, Doug, that is for all 50 states.
What's the
Level
second one?
determine if the employee is exempt or non-exempt. The only exempt employees in HVAC, plumbing, electrical are going to be management and pure sales.
Yeah, they're all salesmen.
Pure sales.
Our CSRs are salesmen too. So what's number 2? You said number 2 was number 1's payroll overhaul. What's your
Second one is my flex rate pay system.
Okay, so let me
the best parts of hourly and performance pay and blends it together to give you not only compliant payroll, but compliant payroll that helps you manage your labor budgets and gauge performance for accountability at individual, department, and company level.
Okay, so let me ask you this. If you use that flex rate pay system, do you still have to go through all of that rigmarole with their spiffing and stuff?
Because what you end up with at the end of the process, each pay period is a rate of pay that you're going to give your employee.
No rigmarole.
All the rigmarole is done on my side. I pull the reports from your software. I enter it in, determine how much each individual is going to get paid, and then all you got to do is enter payroll.
Okay, so I have 2 questions now. I'm going to ask them both of them so I don't forget. First one is, if you use someone like ADP, do you have to worry about all this? Or do they figure some of this? Second one is, I forgot. I knew I was going to forget. So I think because when you said yes, that sent my mind into shock. So if you use ADP, you're not protected from this kind of stuff. You still need.
Absolutely not.
Okay.
Because they're just processing whatever you give them.
Exactly.
They're not actually on the hook for
you go
not
up,
having a good system in place.
Yep. You have to go up 2 or 3 levels of customer support to find a senior manager who's even aware of this concept.
So what about the all-encompassing payroll companies that like Total Source? Is that an ADP thing?
ADP Total Source runs on the same flawed philosophy as ADP run.
So, but with Total Source, you send them your hours and they do all the magic, or so that's
you are still responsible for the compensation plan. They do not. No PEO takes liability off of that.
PEO, that's what I was thinking of. Okay.
Yep. There are PEOs out there, down in Florida. Frank Crum is a big one. They have this overtime premium configuration done and set. They've got it dialed in. On the operations software, I don't know. I haven't had the opportunity to peek into Sarah, but I know Successware has this dialed in. But they're the only one that I know that has this calculation for overtime premiums and stuff actually built into their software.
We should get you with Billy.
I do know that Billy has something, but
Billy has a pay system that is very similar to my flex rate.
Okay.
It is
because years ago,
I don't want to say a lower tech version.
Well, it was a year ago. Maybe it was. It feels like 100 years ago. Billy and I spoke about it. This is back before Sarah. I think it was still Billy Go, and we were talking about it, and we never had a podcast episode about it, but we were going to, and then we just got busy. But I thought it was an amazing pay structure. I just feel like there's a lot of national franchise companies who are paying like a straight commission with like a base pay to just cover if they went on overtime. But they didn't actually use any of that money as compensation in their mind because they made all their money on the commission side of things. It was more of a regulatory thing.
Right. That they're just as vulnerable. Probably about 5-6 years ago, I made the corporate entity of some of the biggest and well-known trade franchises aware of a effort on the government's part to hone in on them.
Oh, really?
A number of my clients from those franchises had been getting hit by wage and hour seemingly out of nowhere. And it was too many in short succession to be a coincidence.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they were targeting them.
They scrapped the official verbiage for that
Really?
pay plan. And now that franchise has undergone new management a couple times, and I've been out of that loop for a while. So I don't know if they've reverted back or what they're doing. But, all I can say is I know the way.
Ian, it's been...
That's a great plug toward to wrap up the show.
It's been over an hour, and I didn't even realize how long it had been because I'm just asking you some what if scenarios. There's a lot more that we can ask, and
this is just
like
on pay. Like this doesn't cover.
And like I said, this is totally not me for like all you wage and audit hourly people that you're watching. It's not me. It's for friends. Like just saying.
Would you rather have me tell you or the government tell you? That's
definitely
that's
you.
the end of the line.
I will tell you. Okay, so from personal experience, I shared this experience on the podcast when it happened because it was right after I started my business, and it was right after. At that time, it was Icebound. Icebound. I hired a technician who was trying to rip off clients, and I would not stand for it. I released that person to newer opportunities, and immediately 2 weeks later, I was being this lady with this badge that looked like the FBI was like, "Hey, we need to audit your whole business." And I'm like, "Good news. We've only been in business for like 3 months. So here's all of our audit paperwork." And she was like, "Yep, you look good." And I was like, "Yeah." And she was like, "I can't tell you who it was." I was like, "You don't have to tell me who it was. I know who it was. The person's left here." And so, yeah, I shared that experience on the podcast, but man, if I had 20 years of paperwork that I had to do, it would be gut-wrenchingly nightmare.
It is every time. And I can only do so much to help once they're at your doorstep.
Every time you get a letter from one of those ABC agencies, it's like, "Oh, geez, this is about to cost me money."
A lot of money. Or a lot of time or frustration, which is almost worse.
All of the above, yeah.
Or damage to the brand.
Yeah, that too. Ian, thank you so much for coming and hanging out with us.
Thanks again for having me.
Asked you a question on a group chat the other day, or a Facebook Messenger, and you were like, answer that question. I was like, "Why didn't you ever be on the show?" I was like, "Come on, join the show."
We got to change that.
Let's change that. But cool, man. We appreciate it. And if anybody has any questions, don't hesitate to reach out to Ian and go to thebigpictureconsulting.com and check him out. He obviously knows a little bit about HR and his wife as well. So check them out and reach out to them and ask them any questions. If you ask me a question, just don't ask me a question because I'm not even.
Don't ask me either.
Yeah,
this isn't my cup of tea.
You got to go to Ian
directly.
I don't do anything with mine at my business. Any of my businesses, you can tell that by the questions I ask. So, anyways, I appreciate you again for coming on the show. I appreciate everybody that's watching or listening to this episode. And thank you again. And click subscribe, 5-star reviews. Even if you don't like us, say we hate you, but here's 5 stars. We'll see you guys.
See ya.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Service Business Mastery. Now that you are equipped with essential business advice from this impactful conversation, you are one step closer to becoming the successful owner of your dreams. If this episode has been helpful to your business journey, don't forget to subscribe to the show, leave a rating, and share it with other owners as well. Visit servicebusinessmastery.com to learn more.